Okay, this is Life from Permaculture Farmers, and what I want to tell about here is the carbon cycle. And you see here I put in a lot of different elements. Obviously, the sun is the engine of everything. We have air and we have CO2. As we know, photosynthesis, the plants use CO2 for photosynthesis, use sun for the photosynthesis. So this is actually the sort of a fuel into the plants, and the plants provide then the energy to anything else going on the whole planet, really. So this so the cycle goes between, let's say, soil, and say soil, plant, animal, and this is the biological cycle between nature's element. So I'll start with the soil to look at what is actually a soil, and it's a good thing to start with this one here, with having here what we can say a group of soil aggregates sort of put together. We can see the roots are running down. There's some pores, what we call air, probably air spaces. There's debris and organic matter, some fungal hyper, and so on. So all of this thing is all growing in a good soil. And if we zoom into one of the small ones here, we will find this is particles, clay and silt, and even in some cases there might be some sand, but this is the very small one for sand. Microorganisms are there, lots of microorganisms in there, debris on organic matter, water, and so on. So soil is a lot of things other than just silt. I mean, sand, silt, and clay. It is living. Soil is a living thing. It is the stomach of the plants. So therefore, it is very important. We have another example here where we see what's coming through here is a plant root, and then we have the root hair. We have the particular organic matter with some, whatever organic matter here, and the mycorrhiza fungus are growing in here. For those who don't know what mycorrhiza fungus is, it's sort of an extension of the roots, which can be up to 800% extension of the roots, how much it covers. And then we have some big sand, we have some clay, and so on. And this is in. So when you look at this thing and look at the soil and actually see the aggregation as such, this is how it looks. This is a rather well aggregated soil, and this one will drain a lot, it will hold a lot of air, and it will hold a lot of water, contain a lot of water, and the root zone will extend into the ground compared with what we see now, because of all of this thing. And it will hold on to a lot of different kind of microorganisms and even earthworms and microarthropods and things that are growing bigger. So this is the soil. A very, very important part that many of us seems to pay very little attention to, especially when it comes to the conventional farming or industrial farming. The last 50 or 60 years has really not paid any attention to the soil, and that the soil is a living thing. Plants, we have the plants, and maybe I should start with this one here, where you can see some generally plants. When we look at a tree, we look at half of the plant, we look at half of the tree. That is the same size going up as it's going down. And if it's going 20 meters up, it's going 20 meters down, and it's quite likely to be the same if it's 40 meters up and 40 meters down. Which obviously means that these trees here are taking up nutrition from very far into the ground. Can easily be 20, 30, 40 meters. And taking it up, growing their leaves, growing their trunk, and growing everything. So they're moving from this upper layer of soil here but deep for humans, because it's all this 40, 50 meters down. Moving it up to putting it on the topsoil, dropping leaves and whatever on the topsoil sort of every year, if it's here in the north, and the year round, if it is in the south where we have evergreen plants. So they're dropping leaves the year round. So this is very, very important. It's like a nutrition pump coming up from deep down up. We cannot have a sustainable kind of farming or living without having an awful lot of trees. And we need many, many more than we have now, because we're still clearing trees to plow. And then we're plowing this soil for a few years, and then it's spoiled, gone, because the basis for the fertility of the soil was the trees. So anyway, we go over here, we see a root here, and this extension of this is sort of a, you can call it biosphere. It makes around its own surface. So this is where the plants, the root or the plant are giving out some exudates, some sugars to keep different kind of microorganisms living around here. They're protecting it from diseases, and they are delivering the nutrition to the plant through the soil food web. So this is the hymen. The fungal hymen bring nutrition to the roots, so they go out and bring plant exudates, exceed the roots and microbial, and then we have. So this is how different kind of plants are growing. There are many kinds here. We can see the up and down. Plants are not necessarily competing with each other. Usually there is enough light, sunlight for them. So we can have plants, we just need to know how they're growing. You can see this one here don't compete with this one really for the nutrition, or even for the same soil layers. It's very different. On top of that, many plants don't compete for the same kind of nutrition. The legume plants are not interested in picking up nitrogen from the soil. They are leaving nitrogen in the soil for non-leguminous plants, and there are many other mechanisms like that. So this is the plant part of it. When it comes to animals, important thing is that grass, which is growing up, or anything else for that sake that is growing, is actually eaten and turn over. Remember, this is the cycle of the carbon cycle. So if grass grow up and stand straight and dry up, and next year it grow up and stand straight and dry up, the grass is taking nutrition out of the soil and is standing there like the grass roofing on a house. It's been oxidated. It's not been turned over. So we need animals, and we can see a good picture of this if you look at the Serengeti. So many people have seen those pictures of gnus and zebras and whatever coming, millions of them in one day, and the next day is nothing at all in that place. A few days later, birds and whatever will turn up, and they will take care of all the manure these animals have left there. So this is a cycle which are just a local little closed cycle, carbon cycle, that are only running in like 6 weeks. The very same idea have given the basis of Alan Savory's holistic management plan, grazing. And so what is needed here, actually the cows have the ruminants have a close teamwork with trees, because the trees pick it up from down 50 meters and up, drop it on the surface, and then it's growing as grass, and we can say fodder for animals. And they eat it and drop it as manure. Who makes it available to the trees and whatever again. So this is the cycle. It's interesting with the carbon cycle. Many people think it's running sort of over 20, 40, even 100 years. It's not. It's running sometimes almost over a few weeks, and then it's precisely, it's turned up, it grows up, down and back into the ground, and the plants are picking it up as nutrition. It can take in a year, it can be completed totally, and it's back up and growing again. So we have this can we call small carbon cycle with a lot of energy released into it. Also, we have, of course, the long-term one, which are trees and so on. But that carbon cycle, which are right on the surface and repeating itself a number of times every year, is really running them. So anyway, that's the animal part. So this is the how it's working. So we know how it's starting. As I was telling it from the beginning, we have the sunshine and we produce. The plants are taking up CO2 and producing the fruits. This is not a big thing. Photosynthesis eats CO2 and produce our food, or it could be just grass for cattle, and that results this photosynthesis here, that this plant would use about 40% to put into the soil of the photosynthesis, about 40%, they're saying. So this is to keep this entire soil food web alive. The plant are using about 40% of the photosynthesis it's doing to do that. And very interesting. A reduced cost, a higher profit, and a higher use. Agreed. So yes, this is what we get out of making biological farming, and we get out of running our farming inside the carbon cycle. There's a full schedule inside the carbon cycle. Thinking of it like that gives a higher profit. That's as simple as that, and reduce cost. And then it is what we call regenerative. It's not degenerative or just degenerative. It is regenerative. We are building up the soil. Actually, if we have this thing growing as it can do in a very, very short time, 1 to 3 years, it will sort of improve on itself if we keep this cycle running. Yeah, again, we have a little explanation of the same thing. We build up organic matter, and we are picking up parent material, as we said. The microorganisms are picking up the parent material. The trees are doing, our plants are doing it, and this will all come up and drop on the surface, and the organic matter will turn into soil. So this is what it's all about. And there it is, all of it, sort of in a picture. This is the soil food web, as we call it, and it is a system that is set up by Dr. Ingham Elaine, which is running the actual soil food web school and all of these things, and doing the consultancy of this kind here. So this one here obviously starts with sunshine, and we have some roots. The roots are giving off what we call exudates, sugars, cookies, they call it, and this will all produce some more organic matter and so on. And we'll have a lot of bacteria, some fungus, some nematodes, maybe root feeders eating here. And then we have the next level, that will be arthropods, nematodes, and protozoas. These are fungal and bacterial feeders. So all of this, let me say, if we start from the top here, this one is eating this one, and this one is eating this one, and this one is eating this one, and the plant is eating the waste of when these ones here are eaten. The fungus and the bacteria are being eaten by the protozoa and nematode. So the plant will try to keep all of this stuff here inside that circle we looked at before. Here, right inside this belt. This is where the plant would want all of this stuff. Here you can see the plant exudate exceeds the root. Microbial metabolites enters the roots and so on. So this is a work the plant is doing. Here we just see this thing put into a figure that is very illustrating of it. When we grow, when we have the soil food web fully functional, we have all of it. We don't miss anything. So the carbon cycle here is having all of this cycle, especially here in the sun, in the soil, the teamwork with the trees and of course the animals, all run by the sun and the air. So this is how it should be understood. Well, if you put it into a figure as such, this is sort of the good situation with all of it. The real situation is, however, that when we look at our rock materials or our bare fields we have plowed and harrowed for 60 years, we have something here that is called bare parent material, 100% bacteria. And these are not beneficial bacteria. These are bacteria we have created by plowing, harrowing, and spraying and giving a lot of poison. These are bacteria that can live under this rather unnatural conditions we have created. So this is non-mycorrhiza which are going up here. That if we move on from this one, and then we have FB fungus bacteria on 0.01, then we get a little bit. We start to get a little bit of bacteria, fungus, nematodes, and microarthropods. We move on here. FB 0.1, we have still a huge problem with weeds. This is seed weeds. They grow when we have NO3, and often we lack oxygen in the soil, and that's because of first of all, the soil is collapsing together because it has no structure of any kind, no soil aggregation or whatever. And then it's because those bacteria here are eating a lot of oxygen out of the soil. The early grasses, this is FP 0.3, early grasses and mustards coming off here. FP 0.3 is not all that bad, and an awful lot better than nearly all soil that would exist in Denmark. I have never seen soil, and I've seen soil from 100 fields now the last year, and I have never seen any soil with an FP of 0.3, even organic soil and things like that. It doesn't exist because they're plowing, and this is the main thing. We should not forget that just plowing was in the history of the newer history of humans, as we have evidence of more than 22 civilizations going down, collapsing because of plowing, so we are just now, the difference is we don't have any other place to run to this time, but before we just moved to another place. So 0.3, mid grasses and vegetables, and we see this is where we want to be here or here. This is what we're going to move to in order to get our carbon cycle up and running again in the farming. This is it, and this is crops and vines and bushes. Of course, if you grow vines, it's pretty good. And this is VIM colonization. That's mycorrhiza trees. Yeah, and old growth forests and things like that, which is not where we're going to be. So if you put it into a different figure, we can look at it in a way where we have the tree, we have the roots again, and very much all of the thing that I have already said. We have some products, cooperation, farm, business, vegetative gardens, suburbs, plantations, villages, and so on. Obviously, we know a little bit about where we use trees. So this is what can we use it for? There's some energy, there's finance, there's economy, anthropology. I don't even know what it is. Obviously, architecture, and it goes on, agriculture, horticulture, geographic. This is what we can use it for. Yeah, and it is light, air, earth, water, go on. If we take this this kind of look here at a thing and take this kind of look at everything when we are trying to make our carbon cycle, then this one here is a pretty good example of how to look at it. And we should look at all animals, even trees like that. So we look at first, what does it need? It needs food, water, dust, air, shelter, grid, control, protection, other chickens, and then there are some factors here, unique factors, breeding characteristics, color, and so on. We have made some chickens which will not be able to live in certain areas, and they are better in living in modern area. This is what we're talking about when we talk about this different intrinsic factors. Yeah. So we have the behavior, products and behavior. So it is producing manure, eggs, meats, feathers, heat, methane, and then it's producing scratching. One would think it's not a joke, but if you want a chicken to help you make compost, you put up something called a chicken tractor, and that is done a lot in permaculture. I think it's actually invented by Jeff Lawton, and they used the chickens to flatten out this compost and hack through it, and then there are forest flying and some fighting. I don't know what we use the fighting for. When you can imagine, you have a lot of needs here and a lot of outputs, and you put those things up against each other. I think this one here, heat, is very interesting in Denmark and some other cold areas, because you might put your chickens in. They're actually pretty hot compared to winter weather. I think it's around maybe 40 degrees or something like that in temperature. So if you have a number of chickens running in the bottom of a greenhouse, you will go or connect to it, so the greenhouse is over. The heat can seep up into the greenhouse and maybe keep it frost-free, so on, without paying a single coin. So there are many ways to look at this thing. But imagine you do take the same look at trees, take the same look at cows, goats, all different kind of things, and then link it together inside this farming, you can call carbon cycle, farming version of the carbon cycle. You will have an extremely productive kind of farming. So almost enough for now. So this is really the small version of the top figure we looked at, and it is soil. We have the soil, and we know this has to be a soil that has the whole soil food web, because this is what we've been talking about until now. Then we have the plants, and we need plants that are growing on the fields all the time, as many trees as possible, but also a cover on the fields. And then we have animals which will eat what is growing on the surface and as much, and deliver the manure and things there. So this is the cycle. This is the basic of all farming. Nothing less can do it. And this is really, when you ask me, the carbon cycle that is needed for farming to work. If we don't have these three elements in farming, that means if we start to use artificial fertilizers and irrigation and whatever here, and we grow just some cash crops, we drop these two, and it is absolutely not sustainable. But if we try the other one here, soil and then animals directly on it, without thinking of that the plants have to grow, it will not be very productive, and it will not last for a long time. So yeah, there are many ways to look at it, but that is what I want to tell for now. So thank you very much.